The missing dimension in world politics is the spiritual dimension. The problems of life cannot be solved by material means. Modern civilization is missing the point of life. Human life is meant for understanding spiritual values. Real knowledge is knowing yourself, what you are, what God is, and understanding your relationship and duty to God. It is our duty to understand God, abide by His laws, and learn to love Him. Then all of our problems will be solved. When men are not governed by God, they will be ruled by tyrants. The material world is just like a prison. The spirit soul is imprisoned in a material body which is imprisoned in the material world. We do not belong in this material world. We are spirit souls and belong to the spiritual world. Modern civilization is wrongly directed to the fulfillment of sense gratification, the basis of material life and a barrier to spiritual realization. The demonic believe that the enjoyment of the senses is the ultimate goal of life. However, it is not possible to become peaceful and happy in the attempt to gratify the temporary senses. The result is usually the opposite. A materialistic culture based on sense gratification agitates the mind and senses. Unless one controls the mind and senses, one cannot make any spiritual advancement. The great sages of all bona fide religions were completely free of material attachments because they knew that spirit is permanent while matter is temporary. Our present culture would have us debase ourselves and become more and more entangled in materialism so that the path to the spiritual world is blocked. The demonic wish to make this planet a closed system where it cannot function for the purpose it was intended. The material world was created to give man the opportunity to purify himself of his material consciousness, for the aim of life is to go back home, back to God. The demonic cannot go back home until they rid themselves of their demonic mentality, and so they wish to make it impossible for anyone else to return home. This is the ultimate goal of psychological warfare, to entangle man in materialism so that he cannot return home back to the Supreme Lord. Mind control in America. Break it.
And welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm still getting used to this system. You know, you got to do it every day, and then it gets second nature. But right now, been a few days since we did our first premiere broadcast of Forbidden History Live, Lost Scriptures, and Bible Translations on the Original Thought Transliteration Project. And I am your host, ladies and gentlemen, Desert Owl. Good to have you. We've got friends all around the world, actually, and we've even got a new listener in South Africa, Lisa. We have Elisa in Wales, and we have Lisa in South Africa. So she said she'd be listening in and perhaps join us on the call. So that'd be great. She did a request of a few of the PDFs that we have, and we got them right to her, and actually she's rather thrilled to get these materials. And you know, so we do give them away, ladies and gentlemen. You know, if somebody can't make a donation, or they're strapped, because everybody's, if they're not, they're gonna be, We get it to them. I know it'll get busy at one point in this process, but I can't tell you how good it felt, to hear from somebody new from another part of the planet, and to just share these materials, to realize that well, I know what they are. I know their value. They are the opener. I was going to say they could be. No, they are the opener of the metaphysics, of the deeper, what I call the deeper breathings or pantations of what is not being the bad word, but disposed of, the D words. But that's we can't get away from them, but being disposed of, in other words, talked about and put on the table, because why is there 600 different versions of Christianity? Just, forget all the other traditions that are out there, but just 600 different versions, and it's because they've been taken over by the Jesuits, who are the Jewish Front, Israel, and the Vatican are one, and they're controlling the pulpits. The Freemasons, again, they're another front of the front, another front, for the Jewish Kabbalistic system, and so that's why the word JEW is in every ancient book. It's like they were there, they were here, they were over there. Wait a minute, the word didn't even exist until 1775 with the letter J. Okay, and it didn't even enter the American dictionaries until the early 1800s. And so, how did they end up back 2,000 years ago in Israel, pseudo-Israel? And so these are the things that we show here, we prove out, because a Judean, which is the correct word, actually it's Euthaean, but we'll just use the D letter. The Judean is a nationalist title. It's not an ethnic thing, because there were a variety of people in Judah who were Judean, from African. People came into this culture and followed it. So they could have been Aryan, they could have been African, they could have been Dravidic from India, or Oriental, who we think of as Chinese, or right. And so the culture is mixed, but once they become a part of that culture, they became a Judean. That is not a religious ideology per se, but a nationalist claim. That like, I'm an American. I don't agree with anything America says. This so-called paper mache phony platform that they've created an imagination of. I am an American. I can say that by from a legal and political standpoint, but it is not my philosophy. We're better than everybody else, or mom, anybody can be president. All the lies that they fed us, all of the garbage they kept shoving down our throats, and we repeated it. So the terminology, there, just to clarify, there never was ever at any time anybody called a Jew in ancient Israel, and those in pseudo-Israel today, calling themselves Jews, are not Israel. Okay, and that's where in Revelations they switched it out, because they control the translations, and the Masoretic text, it comes out of Switzerland and is given to us by them, the banking elite, the controllers of commerce, the ones who wage war on mankind perpetually. They gave us the Old Covenant Masoretic text. It's very messy, and then they also controlled the New Testament as well, and through the Roman Empire and Constantine. Notice the word constant throughout all time. Constantine, constant throughout all time. It's a code word. I'm not saying it wasn't his name. I'm just saying, look at how they pick their titles of things and places and people, because it's always telling a story, And so they took control of our scriptures, and that's why when we come here, we talk about or my one quote. Let's see if I can find it here with all this list now. Well, this one. Let me start with this one. And then where's the other one? I'm gonna have to. In the beginning, they switched our words, and here it is. Okay. Unless there's a discussion on how words and scriptures have all been changed and transformed, then there can be no discussion, ladies and gentlemen. So we pull the cover off. Okay, the word Bible itself is a cover. It's all a smoke and mirrors game they have played on us. We come into the world and we think nobody'd lie to us. Our politicians wouldn't lie to us. Our preachers wouldn't lie to us. I'm sorry, they're all lying. Academia is lying. Okay, and our parents repeat the lies. They don't know better, but they repeat the lies, and they buy into the philosophy and the ideology of an imagination. Right? All the nations are imaginations, brought to you by the wonderful Babylonian world domination, Zionist control Talmud. In the mud. That's what you look like when you're in the Talmud. You got slime all over you. You hate everybody else. You think you're better than everybody else, and you're nothing but slime. And so forgive me for my rant. It's hard to not want to just state it like it really is, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I should do a disclaimer now. That actually we love all people, and I do have friends who are came out of the that system, and they're good Jews today. They're good people, like Stephen Jacobson, who just did the opener. My friend, he came out of the, he's an Ashkenazi, Khazar, Aryan, who, and I love him. He's the best guy on earth, and so it's not, in other words, they use in their culture they'll use anybody. They use people from Africa. They use people from the Orient. It's a world domination culture, and they're committing damage. They're hurting people everywhere they go. We're told to love our enemies, so I don't hate them. I just wish they'd wake up. I ask the Father of Light, please wake them up. So we're in big trouble, ladies and gentlemen. We're in big trouble because we've been lied to, and unless we can poke and pull and lift and examine the traditions that have been handed to us, then we're just puppets. Oh, tell me where to stand. Where do I go? Oh, over here. Please, somebody, please tell me what to do. I can't think for myself. So yeah, how did I get on that rant, huh? And if we do take callers, ladies and gentlemen, and if anybody wants to call in at any point, you're welcome. If you want to call in, jump the gun and get right in, then that's fine. I'm going to be doing a sample read. I now have the first election, and David Welling. So there's the well. We got the well come back. Okay, I didn't even know when we were talking about the well that David's last name was Well there, because I had a follow up on the well as well. Okay, he's in the UK. That's short for yuck, and the UK is it always had the fog over there. Wonder why? I wonder what that was about. But anyway, the times are changing, aren't they? Right. And so to go where I was going, we're going to do a sample read today. I've got the first election of the Gospel of the Nazarenes, and which is correctly the star message of enlightenment of the Nazareth. The Nazareth was breathed into Hadam from the beginning, and the Lucifer is actually a cover on who Adam is. This is part of the story that I'll be sharing with you in the coming days, and I hope everybody's doing okay out there. I sure appreciate you all coming back and spending a little time with us. Hope you're telling your friends, if you wanted to know, and you can be sure that some of your friends want to know as well. But it's possible that once you woke up, now you don't have any friends, and therefore that's why you're here. It could be. I was just I had my longtime buddy, he found me on satellite when I was broadcasting on some AM and FM stations around the country and on satellite 20 years ago. Don up in Canada was a listener. Then at one point, we become friends, and I end up producing a program for him. I say, "Come on, Don, let's do a program, and I'll produce it for you." When I had my radio network, and so we did the Inside View from Canada, and Don came on once a week with the Inside View from Canada. He's really good. Brought on some good interviews as well, and so he calls me about 2 days ago. Hadn't talked to him for over a year. I can't remember when. And he says, "Yeah, I just needed to talk to you, man. I can't talk to anybody." And he's about 10 years older than me too. He's a real great guy. And he says, "Yeah, I can't." It was just like he was going through withdrawals or something. He needed to talk to somebody who knew what was going on. Because not even family. You know what I mean? Get it. And so very often, and he is going to call in. He's going to call in one of these days real quick. We're going to play catch up on the program. We didn't talk long. I got him. He wanted some of all the times that are programming, and then also some of the books that I have. And so I got him to Don. And so we're going to try to catch up on the program. Maybe I could even get him to interview me once a week. It could happen if he really needs the fix. So I'm good for that. And he's known me so long, he knows where to steer me, and what questions to ask as well. And he's a good read. He likes to read. He studies the law and all that. So he's really well rounded. That's the kind of people I like. So okay. So we're gonna do the sample read. This is really gonna be great. The introduction is about the election, or what is misnomered as diction, or language is langrage, what they put in a cannon and shoot at another ship so it's dead in the water and can't go anywhere. That's what they did to us. They gave us their language, their langrage, and shot us with the cannon, cannon is gay noon, which is garden. So when they're shooting the cannon at you, they're shooting the garden at you. Isn't it just an amazing switch out and gameplay they're playing on all of us? They hate the sovereign father of life so much that they've twisted all of the words and turned them into a negative and a slam and a game. Unreal, ladies and gentlemen, unreal. It's disgusting. Absolutely. Just like I'll do two words. I'll do two words here. And by the way, the word well is we were talking about coming to the well, and you're welcome. We did all that on the last program, so go listen. But there's a follow-up now, and we've got, so what we end up having is a common wealth. Okay, so I guess I'm going to have to type this in the chat. So let me go over here on my other tab. And so we're talking about let me get this picture out of there. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep that there. Let me pull that out of the way first. Oh, geez. So disgusting. Let's get back to something beautiful and something positive in our vein here, ladies and gentlemen. And so, so we're talking about the wheel, right? So well, and wheel, and then then we now are going to deal with this word, commonwealth, right? So it's actually the common and which is actually, we're going back and back, right? You get it now, right? So the commonwealth, which is the common wheel, originally was the commonwealth, you see? And so that's how you follow it back. It's the wheel, it's the well, and then that ultimately became the wealth. The wealth. So I guess more than anything, right? What is the most important thing there is? What's the most important wealth? Water. Voltsar, which is power. The original word for water is Voltsar. You see the power in that, right? And Zar is a star. Vol for volumes that never end. Voltsar. You see how powerful that word is, and they stole that from us, ladies and gentlemen. Wouldn't you rather have Voltsar than a bastardized code that they gave you? They fed you and said, "Here you go, little boy. Here's a little trinket." You know, it's not really the right word, but you'll deal with it. And so that's the brainwashing that they did to us, ladies and gentlemen. I just gave you a perfect example right there. So I hope you can put that feather of life in your proverbial cap and take it to the bank with you, because that's the real Commonwealth now. If we want to talk about it, is the knowing, is the knowledge, the Aish of Ors. Okay, and so we've got a lot of work we've got to do to get back to Kansas. Okay, so okay, I got a couple more words. I just moved from the page. Now I got a couple more words. All right, and thank you for holding back on the chat right now. Unless it's a quickie, because you got it. If you get something that's relative to my presentation here, makes sense. One of the big four banks here is the Commonwealth Bank. Sure, yeah, they stole all the Commonwealth. Just like when I used to deliver chemicals, I drove 18-wheeler and drove the big tanker with hazardous material down to the South Texas power plant, which was a nuclear power plant they had built 70 miles south of Houston, and I go there a couple times to deliver the caustic, which they put in the water treatment, in the cooling system. And so while I'm delivering the caustic, then one of the guys, the operators who's hanging out with me while I'm unloading the product, he starts talking about the plant. He says, "Yeah, this," because they call the power company the Public Utility Commission, public utility, right? And so is it public? I guess not, because this guy goes, "Yeah, this nuclear power plant is owned by a consortium of Jews up there in New York." I'm like, "What? I thought it was a public utility." "No, it's a private utility. A bunch of Jews own it up there." And so it's like, "Oh, okay, thank you for telling me." And so you see, I mean, they own the power, they own everything, and they're now taking it all from us. They're steering the weather, so that the people in the West have no water. They're about to have a day of reckoning, from California all the way to about Texas, all the way New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, all of that, ladies and gentlemen, all going down in flames. And so our best and most powerful Commonwealth today is the knowledge and the Aish of Ors, that I'm bringing you, because it is possible. In other words, the scriptures, even though they're corrupted, they're still our scriptures, but they're not giving us the full flower. It's almost like the flower is closed. That's the way we could describe it. And so we want to open the flower of how these Aish of Ors, the original word for word is, right? ASHAVOR, actually with the silent T, but it's easier if you don't see the T to get used to it. Aish of Or, the silent T, of course, representing Yeshua on the sacrificial stake for 3 hours, and silent there until the key moment when he gives his life back to the Father, right? So anyway, I wanted to share that Commonwealth, and then I got two more. And what I was saying was, yeah, I appreciate your holding back on comments, unless it's relative specifically to what in other words, you see a missing piece of the puzzle, and you got one like you did with everybody did with well. All of a sudden, you were coming on with different ideas about the well, and that was cool. So, okay, Jennifer says, not true. No geoengineering here anymore. Yeah, but it's all in the air, no matter where you go, Jennifer. It's all there. So, you're telling me your temperatures are okay now. Anyway, like I said, let's keep it. Okay. So we're talking words here, and it's LAWS, which is look at the code, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to the sound, because sometimes it's not how it looks, but it's how it sounds, right? The sound is tipping you off. Laws is lost, because they, as it is like with the turn, Turn everything back to the crown. And so the word, so we have an interesting word, in this word God, because it's not our original. And the question is, what does it mean? And so we know that the G was switched out. That the G was the third letter in the Roman Empire, but then it became a C. So the C is now doing business for the G. And so what's missing? Code. God is a code. And backwards it's dog, right? And that's the priesthood, the puppy dogs that go and do the bidding of their master. Yes, master. Where do you want me to go? Who do you want me to kill? Okay, I can do that. Yeah, sure. And that's what's going on. Because God was, before it was God in the scriptures, then it was corrupted when it came out of Babylon to. Okay, so let's just do it again. Elohim, okay, and that became was taken from before they went to Babylon. It was Zul Lahaim, and Zul is a star. Zul means everything, and Ul in the latter part means the eye that sees all things in the night. That's reflective of the logo and of the sun. Okay, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting. When you examine the Ace of Wars, when you become adept in it, then all of a sudden they're not hiding anymore. The king has no clothes. He's actually looking like this. Okay, so don't forget it. And glad you tuned in, and hope you're telling your friends about the broadcast. Okay, we love all our friends that come in, and we hope you'll tell your friends, because we're on a very short window, and I think to know the truth is to be set free, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we were told anyway, right? And I think it's true. Of course, they corrupted the word, so there you go. So let's take a break now. We're going to go real quick and honor the #1 guy on the planet that is at the tip of the needle, Dane Wigington, okay? And so a word from Dane, and then we'll be back with more of the saga and the journey that we're on, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Desert Isle. Glad you tuned in. Hope you are telling your friends.
I'm almost out of time. Again, this question. Are we doomed? If we remain on the current course, the answer is yes. But if our collective efforts can push the climate engineering insanity to the full light of day, the entire construct of geoengineering operations could begin to crumble and implode from the inside out as more and more of those participating in one form or another begin to realize that they are literally participating in their own near-term demise and that of their own posterity. Consider this timeless nugget from H.L. Mencken. Why do so many expect to find honesty and humanity in government, which is, in reality, nothing more than a conglomeration of institutions whose methods of normal operations consists of lying, cheating, stealing, and, if need be, murdering those who resist? Consider that. And now this. The most dangerous man to any government is the man who is able to think things out without regard to the prevailing superstitions and taboos. Inevitably, he comes to the conclusion that the government he lives under is dishonest, insane, and intolerable. And never, ever forget this. The hallmark of a healthy mind is most profoundly revealed by the character of those that have summoned the courage to face the full fury of unspun truth, no matter how dire that reality is. If we are to have any chance of turning the tide of insanity that we're all drowning in, it's essential that we rise to the occasion, that we, each of us, all of us, dig down deep and summon every ounce of courage and fortitude we can muster. For the record, turning the tide doesn't mean that there's any chance of returning to what was. That's exactly what put us in the start corner in the first place. That temporary reality was never sustainable, it's gone, and it's not coming back. What we're fighting for now is to salvage what is yet left of the planet's life support systems. The sand in the hourglass continues to run down. Every single day counts in this battle. Sharing credible data from a credible source is key. Make your voice heard while it can yet make a difference. Until next week, stay strong, never yield, ever. This is Dane Wigington with geoengineeringwatch.org.
And thank you, Dane Wigington, for giving your life to this cause of helping to save our planet. Please go to geoengineeringwatch.org, ladies and gentlemen, geoengineeringwatch.org, and support the cause for your planet. Because we are going down. I'm not saying we can stop it, but people need to know, our friends that we care about need to know. And if enough people knew, perhaps they could then lay groundwork for saving Aishan kind. Mankind is criminal and sinner. We don't want to save the criminal and sinner or the monster, the man. That's because man is moon. They stole the original word, which is Aisha, the royal eyes. Aishan, the royal eyes that came down. We came from the light, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we came from the light, and we need to go back to the light. But they actually taught people to hate the light, and it's rather ironic. Okay, and so we're gonna do a read now, and and Jennifer asked a question, so let me go ahead and thank you for hanging in there with me, Jennifer. So the word that we're dealing with is the Babylonian Talmud, and the question is, are there two Talmuds? And in the knowledge that anybody that's close to this information would say that yes, there's two Talmuds. There's the Babylonian Talmud, and then the Jerusalem Talmud. But the Jerusalem Talmud's not as bad as the Babylonian. Let me choke on that, okay? Okay, I'm better now. Thank you. Because you see, the truth is there's only one Talmud. There's only one book of world domination. There's only one group of people running the world for the ancient Aryan Brahmins/sovereign, the ancient fallen ones, the Watchers. And by the way, they put it right on Los Angeles. Los Angeles means lost angels. Okay? They tell us right in our face and nobody gets it. The fallen ones are here. They've always been here running our world. Okay? And so, forgive me for being so melodramatic, but, it's like I've been dealing with this for so many years, a group of people that want to kill everybody, that hate our guts. And all we want to do is mind our own business and live in peace. But no, they're in a power trip and get excited about when they get to think about kicking our teeth in and slitting our throats, and starving us to death or raping our babies. It's amazing. This cult that is taking over everything. They haven't really taken over everything. They've always controlled everything, always, ever since the Aryan race got here, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm beating up my own culture. Oh, shame on me. But it's not about color. It's not about physical race. It's about right and wrong, because we all have the potential to be royal eyes that see, to live up to the intent of our nature, that we were meant to be a creation that has compassion and eyes to see. And but instead we get Bip and Tammy and Bart Simpson and I just can't get over it. Like when I was driving through Indianapolis, when I had United Truckers defending the Constitution back in 1997, and I went through just actually started my organization right at that point when I made it to Indianapolis and got on a radio program there locally telling them about United Truckers. But my truck had to be repaired at the Flying J truck stop, and so I went into the truckers' lounge to sit down while they're repairing my truck, and I couldn't believe it. A room with about 50 chairs, something like that, and it was packed with, all the truck drivers either, waiting for a repair or for another reason, and I look up at the TV, and they're all sitting there watching Bart Simpson. It's like, whoa, man. I've never watched Bart Simpson. You couldn't probably pay me to watch Bart Simpson. And there they are, all glued to the television, waiting for their truck, being spoon-fed. What do you want to call it? Mashed potatoes of cultural behavior, You know, like everybody at the time had a bumper sticker with Bart pissing on you. You know, Bart Simpson pissing on you on a bumper sticker. You know, it's like this is the level of our society when we were meant to be instead of like a Wilbur and Wright airplane with paper mache wings, we were supposed to be rocket ships to take off into the unknown, but to be discovered and to be known and to escape this pathetic world. Like Stephen says at the beginning of the broadcast, people are caught up in sense gratification, you know, the feel good moment, you know, the drug, all those things that are deceptions. You know, I get most excited when I'm deep into my translation, or I'm reading lost writings, or I'm sharing the information with all of you, because it helps me on my journey. If I don't do it, I'm dead. If I do it, I live. You know, I have to do it, or I'm dead. And so I hope that, you know, that these things sink in. I've gotten some really wonderful responses from a few people that have stumbled in and listened to our broadcast, and a few of you are here today as well, and I'm so grateful, because if you weren't there, I probably wouldn't be here. You know, you keep me going, and I know that we'll eventually. We actually Ninja checked out the stats about 2 days ago, and actually we have had a 200% increase in our traffic over the last 30 days. A 200% increase, and I've gotten more compliments from, you know, people saying they've listened to the programs and they're really getting it, and they really appreciate you know, the effort. And so hopefully they'll come back and bring a friend, and you know, and I do want to have a caller generated program. You know, that's the objective, especially on Ask Desert Owl. That's going to be Ninja is still ramping up the new computer. She's got to put in, you know, all the stuff, rebuild it, the software, you know, the OBS for the broadcasting and everything. So there's a little bit of, you know, delay here, but once we're ramped up, that'll definitely be the call-in program, Ask Desert Owl. On this one, I'm going to do Lost Writings and Farrar Fenton, and also, you know, the other extras that I do. So we're pulling. It's too slow, because I know a lot of you were waiting for us to do the next program, and I just needed some delays to get the new book going, the Gospel of the Nazarene. I'll share in a little bit, but I wanted to do a couple definitions first, okay? And by the way, with when the program is done, I want to mention that we have maybe a special feature just for us. I'm not sure, but it feels like it. That when we're done with our program, each time, whether it's on Ask Desert Owl with Ninja Cat or here, then when normally the upload of a 3-hour program can happen within 1 hour after the program, and then the chat immediately follows within another 15 minutes or so. Now you have to wait 24 hours in order to hear our latest broadcast. And the chat then is slightly delayed, and then within 15 minutes usually comes up as well. So be aware that if you miss this broadcast, you may have to wait 24 hours before you can listen to it. And like I say, that's one of the special features. I think we're privileged to have that special feature, and we're so great for all the community that they've created. You know what I mean. But we're here to serve, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to serve our community, the community at large, wherever it is in the planet. You know, information is what it's all about. Knowing that you know who you are, where you are, why you are, when you are. If you don't know who you are, I guess you're not going anywhere either, are you? And thank you, Chi. I got Chi over there in Denmark, and took the long tour through America and made it to Denmark from Vietnam back in the mid-1970s when he was a very young man. And excuse me, I didn't mean to say that. A young Ashan, an Ashan. Actually, there's the word Ashan. If it didn't fit better for a Vietnamese, where would it? Right? He's an Ashan. He knows it. So interesting. They put that on a map, and they never tell us what the word Ashan means. We are all Ashan if we have eyes to see. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a crazy, crazy world, is it not? And but that's okay. We can make lemonade out of the lemons that they're given to us. We can make sense out of the zensei. The zensei is the original word for sense. It means infinite potential in knowing. So, okay, so I've got, I want to do a quick definition out of Webster before I do the main one. Okay, and it's dealing with a word that I think probably most people haven't heard, because even when I was doing this work, I didn't realize that one of the sciences that I was engaged with is called ontology. Ontology, and I hope I'm not overmodulating, but I think Ninja, you said I've got a 10 already on my audio, right? So that's good. Thank you. And so basically, among all the other things, from being an etymologist to a translator, I'm also an ontologist. And so, and that's ontological. And so we'll start with ontologic is to see ontology, and it is related to training. I see here. It's pertaining to the science of being in general and its affections. So that hasn't defined it yet, so let's go further. Ontologist, one who treats or, let me try that again. One who treats of or considers the nature and qualities of being, that's B-E-I-N-G, in general. Okay? So ontology, Greek, can't even Greek. You know, they switched out the Greek alphabet to a demotic script, right? Isn't that clever? So you can't, when it was actually our capital letters, right? And they switched it out. Go look at the monuments. They didn't use those little squiggles. They use Phoenician, what we're called at the time, Phoenician alphabet. So ontology from another Greek word, and another Greek word, which means discourse. Oh, I see. Okay, ontology is from. I guess, you know, it's hard to, and then the word and. Okay, so meaning like progression, and discourse. And so I'm not sure about this definition. It's not clear enough. But then the little mini paragraph here says that part, this is the bottom line, that part of the science of metaphysics which investigates and explains the nature and essence of all beings, their qualities and attributes. But that would include also the cosmos itself, ladies and gentlemen, because the planets are Elohim. The planets are organs. The moon, I would be more inclined to say it is a dead star. It is like a geode and probably crystalline on the inside, but it has a great magnetic force that pulls on our earth and affects our psyche and our physiology as well. But the sun is Elohim. It is the great Zul of Haim. Elohim being a corruption. It's the Zul of Haim. What did I say? Zul, man. It is a star. It is a star, but it is also the eye that sees in the night, and more. You know, and its power. It's the power. The TZ in Zul, the silent T is the power. The Z is the power stroke, the lightning strike, and so it's what then was also called El, right, in Babylon, short for Elohim. But these are the aspects of. I'm looking at a note here. Stamp. Okay, yeah, stamp, as in, you know, like your seal, like the way they had a seal in the wax. Also that as well. That's a star. That's a stamp. And let me put my book up here. So thank you, Webster. Man, I don't know how this guy did a book. This dictionary is amazing. He had a round table, and it was a giant round table. And on the round table, and he actually went across to Europe. He took a boat, went over to Europe, gathered all the dictionaries he could, brought them back, and he built a giant round table. And as he was looking for the next word, he would turn to the next book. And after he got the definition for a further review, then he moved the table to round table again. And he kept pushing the round table round around. and he, or like 40 books, 40 or some odd books, and he would then be able to rapidly grab at each next definition and go down with the next one, turn the page in each next book. It's like, wow. I was inspired. So you wonder, Desert, how do you do this stuff? How do you write these dictionaries? I have a four that are published right now, I think, and but I've my prototypes. I could say I've written 10 dictionaries, 6 of them being prototypes, and it's because I'm inspired and feel very inadequate at the same time when I look at these people, what these people did without computers. It's like, why did it have to take me 50 years before I was ready? But no good wine will be ready before it's time, they say, right? And of course you have to go through a life experience and read a lot and be brought down the trail by the great sovereign of the universe, the great Zuluf Hain, the Yavel, who is the great Zuluf Hain. That's where when we hear the terminology Lord God in the Old Covenant, Lord for the Yavel, which was and there was an attempt to go back to that original, and it became Yahweh, but Yahweh is correctly the Yavel, but then the Yahweh becomes Lord, and also Adonai after they came back from Babylon. And I don't know if I answered the question correctly about that Babylonian Talmud, but it's one book, Jennifer, just to clarify, one book, okay? And don't matter if they sugarcoat it and say, oh, the Jerusalem Talmud is not, they're all bad. Okay, it's all about world domination. Israel took down, the 3,000 people in the Twin Towers, the occult ritual, and so that's what they do, and so they want people to think, oh, it's not Babylon. Well, it is Babylon. Once Babylon, always Babylon. You can't have a pure fruit from a corrupt tree. You don't get good fruit from a corrupt tree. It's a corrupt tree at its source, and the Babylonian Talmud was made for the front line occultists that are the Ashkenazi Khazar Aryan front. Okay, they're the ones working for the Brahmin, for the sovereign priesthood, and so it's been a family lineage throughout all time. They just changed their names and faces. It's a bloodline. It's a serpent cult. Its beast system is not actually correct. It's a serpent cult, and the reason is because when I show you one day the meaning of the word beast, it's again another slam, because it's 2 words, and the word, look at the word east. You got the word east in there, okay? So anyway, take note of that, and realize that as Yeshua said, the truth sets us free. People perish for a lack of knowledge. Where there is no vision, people perish. So we got to have vision, we got to have knowledge, and we got to have truth. And if we're, like a lot of times, when I hear somebody talking, that like, let's use example on the boob tube, and you're watching somebody who's religious, and therefore they should be more inclined to pursue knowledge, right? For enlightenment, we're talking about the Enlightenment, and then what do we see? Because when I start listening to them talking, they're using all the slave terminology. Lord, God, bless you. Bless you is a code for blast you. Angel, which never was in our scriptures. It was used to replace Malak, which means the mother's tongue, also the royal messenger. Then when you look up angel in the Latin dictionary I have from the early 1800s, in the back it says to see English. And in my Middle English dictionary by Skeet, same thing. When you look under angel in there, it says see English. The Anglo-Saxons, the angel Saxons. You see, so the people, and that would be your Ashkenazi Khazar Aryan Jews again. So they're calling themselves angels, meaning enlightened ones, meaning, of a higher order, and so then India puts themselves in there with Adonai. Adonai backwards is India. It's an anagram. And so there is no secret, ladies and gentlemen, as I shared with that quote earlier. Where is that thing? Here it is. Okay, unless there's a discussion on how words and scriptures have all been changed and transformed, there can be no discussion. And you got people, using their King James as their pillow. Oh yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, I know, for the Bible tells me so. Go look up the word Jesus. Okay, go look it up. I don't even, I really hate it whenever I have to reveal the meaning of the word. But it's not the Aramaic. It's not the original. It's a fabrication by look at the first letter J, right, for Jews. Okay, so you know who engineered it. It wasn't I, and the eye is the blind. When you hear me talking about it, it's blind. Okay, so we have to get back to ground zero, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to get back to the truth. The truth is what sets us free. Not repeating the lie, repeating the lie, repeating the lie, repeating the lie. And so let's go take a break. When I get back, we're going to define the word logo real quick, and then we'll get on with. You know what? Since I've got a good read, and I did a definition already, I think I'm going to save this for tomorrow. I want to get right into, because I don't know how long my voice is going to hold out. I want to get into the Gospel of the Nazarenes, okay? And I'll go grab the link, and I'll put it in the chat during the break, and that way you can, unless Ninja, if you remember the Nazarene, that website, what is that website? Let me look if I can find it real quick, and you can grab it to the page of, I'll tell you what, Ninja, I'll shoot it in Skype here real quick, that way I can do a transfer real quickly, and then we'll go to a break. And yeah, it's grassroots engineering all the way, ladies and gentlemen. But let me see, where is that? Gospel of the Holy 12. This should be the opening page. Copy link. Okay, going to you on Skype. Ninja, here we go. Let's see if we can do this. Control V. Boom. Okay, because I don't want to open it up on my computer with everything I got, something. So that should bring you to the I guess I'm going to have to. Let's see if I can open it up in a... Oh, it's not going to do that either, huh? Okay, let's see where that goes. So make sure it's right. All right, looking. Okay, yeah, the Gospel of the Holy 12. And all the lections are there. So you could actually follow, ladies and gentlemen, you could actually follow. And so Ninja put that, yeah, thank you. Yeah, make sure it's the right one. Just double check her. And if that's the one I sent you, then it is the right one. Okay. And but yeah, everybody, you can get that, and you could be reading the book on your own. But that particular version of the Gospel of the Holy 12 is not the pure source for the Gospel of the Nazarenes, but it is a takeoff and it was in Aramaic when it was discovered in Tibet. Okay, so it's an astounding read. It's a great read. Okay, but again, we talk about certain word arrangements, or like in there where Jesus is called Jesus Maria. Well, you see, I know what that means. People that would read it would think that's rather strange. It's Yeshua, the mother star. Maria is a corruption of, or more correctly, the mother's light. The mother light. That's what Yeshua is, obviously, right? He's the mother light. And so anyway, those are the challenges we face with translation. But you can follow along when I start, okay? So we're going to go to a break, and then let me find a song here. No, we posted a couple new songs here. Let me see where you got. Okay, here we go. And when we get back, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be on with a special read. Everybody in the meantime can go get that website. And thank you, Ninja. Appreciate it. We'll be right back. That's what they didn't want you to know, that we tell right here, of course.
The road is long, with a many a winding tongue that leads us to who knows where, who knows where. my brother. So on we go. His welfare is my concern. No burden is he to bear. We'll get there. For I know he would not encumber me. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. If I'm leaning at all, I'm leaning with sadness that everyone's heart isn't filled with the gladness of love for one another. It's a long, long road from which there is no return. While we're on the way to there, why not share? And the road doesn't weigh me down at all. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. He's my brother. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. He ain't heavy.
And welcome back to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Kai. Kai has a story. Or Chi. We spell it Kai, but you pronounce it Chi. That's a tongue twister for me because all my life I've been saying Kai for CHI. But yeah, he's got a story, about what the military governments did to his nation of Vietnam, and he escaped at age 8 from that turmoil, and lost his parents in the process, if I remember correctly. And so how ironic here it is today, and hanging out with my Vietnamese brother, now lives in Denmark, and we just meet great people no matter where we turn sometimes, and so those weren't the days that we want to remember, and people on all sides, American young men as well, lost their lives, destroyed, all for this wonderful clique that wants to clack you, in the head. They want to destroy our world because it's a power, some kind of power trip, some kind of drug, and it's so tragic that this is the world. It's a world of darkness. That's the the bottom line essence of what we're talking about here with our presentation. We want the world of light, and that's not here. We find it here. We define it here, and we receive it here, but it's not of this world. Look up, because right above you, it's the great logo, and that's what we'll read tomorrow. Okay? And thank you, David. This stuff is liquid gold. Well, thank you, brother. Maybe you'll call in on Skype one day. We can talk, and you bet. I think Chi was has been, like me, a loner for most of his life, and it's tough being a loner when you see things in another way than the rest of the people just having a party, you know. And so just grateful that we can keep company together here, and we're always good to talk on the side. Don't forget, if anybody wants to call in, 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. If you're outside the U.S., it's a 1 in front of that. 1-608-566-7295. Notice how they made the U.S. number 1, right? Give me a break. And then the Skype call in, if you want to call in on Skype. Free America Radio, all one word. Free as in freedom. America, not American with an N. It's America. Free America Radio, all one word. And it probably still says Kingsland, Georgia, where I lost my apartment. Okay, so it may say Kingsland, Georgia, but I'm now in Ohio. And Lisa, thank you so much. And very nice compliments. And great people. You know, I talk to Elisa periodically on Skype. She's got 2 young sons that she's doing a great job raising, and she's got a beautiful new dog for her family as well, and sends me the pictures. So I'm very grateful. I like the interaction, you know, because I don't get out. You know, I'm trapped in my my own little prison here because the Freemasons that hate my guts, you know, gang stalked me, and they played their little games. I've caught them trying to break in my apartment. They've done it all to me here. You know, financial schemes that injured me. You know, so I don't go out, but twice a month, you know, and resupply the food. And I figured that this is probably the place where I'm gonna, you know, bite the bullet when they come for me, you know. And but that's okay, you know. They're not getting away with what they do. They're gonna breathe their last breath, and that's their moment of truth. When they get to their moment of truth, then they'll realize they were scumbags, totally covered with slime, and that they can't go back to the light. While they pretended the light, they were just, as Masonic means, mother sons of darkness. Mother sons of darkness, but the joints were good, the smoking pot was good, the alcohol was good, the sex was good, the power trip was good. It was all good for the moment, wasn't it? Yeah, but now it's all over, and your soul is going to drift endlessly through space because it's got nowhere to go. Because it can't go back to the light, you light pretender. You light pretenders. You'll get yours. You will not escape. You will not escape. And there's only one sovereign in this universe, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're not with the sovereign, then you're in a danger zone, and you need to get tight. And that's why this program is all that matters. That's why I moved away from the political. You know, I can't stop talking about the scumbags at time because it's just they're everywhere. It's you know, the Masonry is the International Front of Communism, so go figure. Okay, it's just the another game of the other game of the other game, and so they're powerful. You know, I can't get over. There's people that think they're gonna take them down. You know, like, okay, or the white hats are coming. They're coming. Rin Tin Tin and the Lone Ranger and Tonto, they're coming to save us. No, they're not. There's only one Savior, ladies and gentlemen, and he said to separate from this world. You think you would have been in the Roman Empire and you know, and say, hey, Bob, I think we need to throw Nero out. What do you think? Do we kick Nero out? Let's take him down, man. Let's get a leaflet campaign going to stop Nero. You know, how long do you think that would have gone on for? Like about a day? You know, you're going to stop the Roman Empire? We're still in the Roman Empire. Don't you get it? You know, and I got friends. I'm telling you, I've got friends that actually think that, well, we're going to take these. I did it. I was there 30 years ago with my organizations thinking we could throw the bums out. And then I learned the truth about how the stinking world really operates and how powerful these stinking power brokers really are, ladies and gentlemen. They control all aspects of society, from communications to entertainment to the pharmakia to the printing of the funny money, to the power grid, to everything you can think of, right? But I'm gonna sit on my couch talking on the telephone, and I'm gonna take them down. Oh yeah, they have no idea how the game is really played, ladies and gentlemen. No idea. They're in their own illusion, you know. But they can't read the good book. They can't analyze the game that was played on them there either. And so they're reading, you know, my Jesus loves you. Yes, I know, for the Bible tells me so. But they never get past the surface. They can't get past the surface because there's a gatekeeper. And the gatekeeper is the Lucifer, which is the word for the true cipher, which is the code. That's the gatekeeper. So if we can break the code, we can get there. So why don't we get there right now then? And we'll go to desktop. Okay, let me see here. Desktop, where are you? I wish I could make these color coded. There it is, desktop view. I gotta rearrange these things in a way that I can work with them. All right, let me go down here to my tray. Oh yeah, it's a wonderful world, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but they got us on fluoride and Dramamine, and not to mention aluminum and plutonium, or is it strontium? That's right, the most lethal element in the universe. Atomic waste, strontium, breathing it in every day, just feeling so good, you know? Yeah, of course. And so I hope this is coming through okay. I cannot see my chat now, so Ninja, remember, if there's a problem, you go to texting me on the phone, okay? So I'm going to blow up my words a little bit, and let me see here. I don't know which one to touch. Afraid to touch anything. Okay, here we go. All right, we'll start there with that 148%. I think that was the standard I was using. And I'm going to scroll down. What I did is I've actually, ladies and gentlemen, and okay, I'll tell you what. I'll look at the chat real quick. Put it good to go or an A-OK on the chat if this is going through okay. Oh, I'm getting a note. Zoom in a little. Okay. Okay, I did do that. Thank you. I'm at 150%. Let me know. Okay, it's okay. Thank you very much, Ninja. We got our system good to go. And so, what was I saying? So what I decided to do was, like, all that work I did on the Kayla D in the front and the back, I decided to keep it. And what's changing is just in the middle. But I have all of that catalog in the back of the book with 200 PDFs of all the things, you know, that you never knew existed. We can get it to you. And then in the front, these qualifying quotes, you know, that help to set the tone for the logic in thinking about where we're going here. So the first quote is, okay, and because we're going to talk about words today, Ashavor, excuse me, I got to stop using that bad word, which is the war of death. Word is a code for war of death, just like God is a word for code. If the words are not correct, then what is being said is not what is meant. And if what is being said is not what is meant, then all knowledge, science, the arts, justice, and all social order will fail. While the people, they stand around idle, not knowing what to do, having become slaves within their own minds. So words, they matter absolutely, and matter way above everything else. That's Confucius. They wanted to give him a name that sounded confusing, like he's confused, right? But it's really Kung Fu Zu, which means a royal master of everything. Yeah, go get the analytics of Confucius and blow your mind. I read about half of it, then things changed in my life and I couldn't read the rest of it. And but wow, you know, what a thinker back then. I would love to have met that guy. In fact, I actually got a new quote. Ninja just finished. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Place some computer magic here. and just show it to you real quick. At least it's not in the right box, but it'll still work. So let's do that since we're talking about my buddy Confucius here. Come on, here we go. So Confucius said, signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor law. And then I suddenly said, wait a minute, he's not telling you who it represents, right? So I realized that Confucius's quote was either mismanaged on purpose, and we were given the incomplete one because it's an incomplete thought. Because literally, signs and symbols declare who it is who rules the world. Okay, so I didn't want to plagiarize them, so that's why I got us grouped together there. So I just showed that I'm elaborating on what Confucius really meant, but somehow it didn't get said. And if we don't mean what we say when we say what we mean, we don't say what we mean when we mean what we say. I don't know, something like that, right? So that's all I was trying to do here, was to clarify what Confucius was saying, which is such a great quote. Signs and symbols declare. I mean, look around, you see the lion. You know, the lion, it represents the heart of the Brahmin culture, the unseen hand, right? When you see that lion in front of a building, on each side of the stairs, that's telling you something. When you go in the Vatican, oh boy, I've got a view of the Vatican. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But when you walk in, it'll show you who runs the world. They're telling you by these giant monuments, and the Vatican is like the all-time classic, I've got to say, certainly at least in our modern time. So and thank you, Ninja, great job on that. And so where are we going here? Word. Okay. What's in a word? Everything. Come on. All right. So if one does not know the heart of words, then one cannot know the heart of Ashan. Ashan. Man, yeah, he's a criminal. We know it's in his heart. Larceny, theft, deceit, corruption, self-gratification. That's all. Me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. Oh, that's what they sang. Oh, the song? All right. In order to know the ancients thought, or in order to know how the ancients thought, we have to speak with the imagery that these ancients spoke. Okay? So that's what I'm doing. That's called the original thought, because it is in graphic illustration. It's always referring to something in nature. You get a picture. And that's what doesn't happen anymore with our modern pig Latin, ladies and gentlemen. In the years to come, the people of conviction will need to become bilingual. That's Maximus Caesar. Should have put Caesar there. Circa 400. And he was the Caesar we saw in the movie Gladiator. In the beginning of the movie, he was that old guy who then was murdered by his nephew, I think it was, who starred in the movie. So Maximus was a philosopher, ruler, and those were the days, weren't they? Yeah. Coming down. Okay, so all letters are pictures. They are ancient symbols, and they are all true spiritual seeds of light. That's the term. That's what I called them when I discovered what was going on. Seeds of light. It's all about, it always takes you back to the light, back to the sun. That tell, seeds of light that tell a real story, as they carry within them a dual theme about the great mystery of life. You can now follow this pure trail all the way back in time, back into its very root eye, all the way back as we venture on then into that very beginning of time. And the science of lexicography, what was I saying? Okay, lexicography. The science of lexicography, I should have said this is the science, maybe. This is the science of lexicography and lexicography. And so lexi is the law, and the law I, we could say also, for looking, and the cog is the joining, like two cog wheels coming together, joining letters together, and the graphy is the pictures. So it's the law. Lexicography is the law of joining pictures, and this and I got to tell you, nobody is presenting this science. Nobody. There are people who are alluding to it, like when they're revealing the New World Order code, and all that, and taking back to the Vatican. I'm not saying there aren't other people doing words, and even, this David Wynn Miller had his own science. I've never seen the work of David Wynn Miller. Love to see it one day because I've heard so much about it all these years. I had a friend who was a friend of his, but I never made the connection. I was not interested in the legal stuff, because I was always knew I was on the spiritual trail and wanted to to translate our scriptures. That was what was important to me, and not the other. Because I knew the Father as it happened. As you know, I was railroaded 20 years ago, and as I said all along, if you serve the Sovereign, you don't even need paperwork, and He will set you free. And literally, I refused any attorneys. I wouldn't talk to them. People thought I was crazy, that I was going to prison forever, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen. 2 trials. I got the record for the longest case in West Virginia's history. They couldn't put me in prison. I knew what to do and not to do. I made mistakes, but what I'm saying is that you don't need paperwork, okay, if you're connected with the One. He's good to go. That's what's so beautiful about it. You have to trust. It's about trusting, what you have read. He is the Word. Remember, He is the Word. So read the words, and you're reading Him. You're reading the One. He made all things. How can He suddenly not be able to help you, when He made all things? He's really, going to hammer down on those slime in the mud. He's going to hammer down on them hard when it's all said and done. They don't get away with anything. It's a test. This is our test. That's what this planet is about waking up to who we are, where we are, why we are, and when we are, ladies and gentlemen. Answer those questions. There is a primary sense, and I'm paraphrasing Webster here because I'm correcting the terminology so you can see that original primary sense, right? The primary sense, the word for sense is Zen C. The D is a corruption. I should have, but I wanted you to get the picture, so I called it the Zen seed because these are seeds of light. So there is a primary sense or Zen seed for every word, Zen C, for every word, no D, for every word from which all others have proceeded. So whenever this can be discovered, disc covered, 2 words there, disc and covered, then this higher sense or Zen C, it must stand first within the order. So there is a primary sense for every word from which all others have proceeded. So whenever this can be discovered, this higher sense must stand first within the order. That's Noah Webster, 1828, the American Dictionary on the English Language. And then was really interesting, as I go through the book of Webster, in Scripture, I looked, I guess I was looking up Scripture, or I'm paraphrasing him, I can't remember now. Not paraphrasing, but, the literal, what he said here. I'm quoting him. In Scripture, the Christ is referred to as the Son. Now it tells you right there that then they must have changed a few things since then, right? Because I have a few places where you can see that, okay, in Revelations, in the book of Psalms, and here, I guess, Malachi as well. So in Scripture, the Christ is referred to as the Son. That's the Zul of Haim. In other words, He is all things, right? If He's all things, we are made up of Him. That's why He said when we didn't visit the prisoner, we didn't visit Him. Why? Because we are Him. In the physical makeup, He is the first atom. If He is the first atom, then all the duplicates that came after are a product of Him, of the One. You see? So people look at the sun and they say, oh, sun worship. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about metaphysics. We're talking about the relationship, the metaphor, the symbol, the sun. He is the sun, but He is also the spirit. That's the duality, the physical reality and the higher reality of pure energy beyond the sun, right? The sun is the symbol. It's a logo. So it is a produce like you are a produce physically, not your spirit, but your physical nature. So in Scripture, the Christ is referred to as the Son of righteousness. That means perfection in the flowing light, okay? As the source for all light, a great symbol and an animation and a comfort for all who can follow. Thank you, Noah Webster. And I got the references there. Revelation 19:17, where it says that I saw the great Malachim seated in the throne of the sun. Of course, they corrupted it a little bit. Then he's now standing there instead of seated, but it's the sun throne. Malachi 4:2, I don't remember what that says, but Psalm 19:4, I remember. You go read it, okay? Just go read it. The sun is the great logo, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and then these are the works of L. Austin Waddle, because Waddle, he's the one. He's my second witness. Okay, a modern day cover up. I'm losing my voice already, so I better get rolling on this read. This will probably be all I'm going to do today. Then we'll cut it, because I got to strengthen my voice for this daily broadcast, and I'm just getting started. Okay, a modern day cover up. It will be seen that there were no Aryan that. I'm going to try this again. It will be seen that where no Aryan affinity whatsoever has hitherto been noticed, or even suspected by Assyriologists and Sumeriologists as existing in Sumerian, it turns out that all the Sumerian words are radically Aryan, and that over 75% of the current are English words. Now you know why I can do this, ladies and gentlemen. Right there. Let me take a sip of my coffee. Numbering many thousands, even from the radical word signs or symbols, and more common compound signs or symbols or letters, to which my dictionary is limited. Yeah, I've got two of his dictionaries. They are derived from the Sumerian, and that the ancient Meitzarim Egyptian. Maybe I got to fix this. I have to minimize that. Okay, that's better. Control save. I also get it while I got it, lest I'll forget. Okay, so Meitzarim is, and even Fenton, because we're going to be featuring Fenton on this program. He went back to all the most ancient copies of the scriptures, and the word Egypt isn't there. As I pointed out, the word Egypt was fabricated by the Masons around the late 1500s or the early 1600s, just to, be there for the King James, because the Meitzarim, well, it's the Meitzarites that gave us the Old Covenant and gave us our New Covenant. We were talking about that earlier. The Meitzar, this is what, and that's the original word for Mary, but Mary goes back to Miriam. That's the most ancient copies that are still extant. But Miriam is a corruption of Meitzarim. And so there's something going on. And we've talked about it before, and we'll go there again, okay? So Egyptian, okay? Meitzarim was replaced by the word Egyptian. Tongue, okay? So let me try that again. To which my dictionary is limited, are derived from the Sumerian and that of the ancient Egyptian tongue, because he's saying that they're all related. The Sumerian and the Meitzarim Egyptian are all Aryan race. They're all speaking the same tongue, just using different symbols, different structures in their monuments and yada yada, make them look all different, but they're all really from the same core. At the present was unsuspected. So all of this was at the present unsuspected. Well, I think it was a conspiracy myself, but he's playing softball here. Maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't. I think he was an insider. I think he gets it. Was unsuspected of having any affinity with the Aryan. And this is why they now say UFOs and aliens came out of Sumeria. They're carrying the ball of the narrative of Sumeria, trying to make it look like they were, rulers that lived 25,000 years. All of this garbage they're spewing out, and talking about the Anunnaki and all of this stuff, so that nobody will look hard enough at what was already discovered about it, and forget. We are a creature with amnesia, and we don't remember the past because they hid the past. That's why nobody talks about Waddle, right? Because they hope he'll go away. But not here. It was all unsuspected of having any affinity with the Aryan, and is also, with its system of hieroglyphic writing, radically Aryan. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The Sumerian tongue is thus seen to have been evolved by our Aryan ancestors and has with it a great spiritual and cultural current which it embodies, all flowing steadily down into our modern life, and explains the remarkable fundamental unity of thought within the higher ancient Aryan civilizations. Higher thought, not lower, higher, meaning way up there, meaning it's a spiritual diction, actually, election, which have endured. The higher ancient Aryan civilizations which have endured down throughout all the ages, 1927. And Austin Waddell also did a Sumerian Aryan dictionary, 1927, author of The Aryan Origins of the Alphabet, 1927, The Phoenician Origin of Britons, Scots, and Anglo-Saxons, 1924, The Buddhism of Tibet, or Lamanism, 1895, and again, all of these other books up here, just even did, definitions in the Encyclopedia Britannica as well. So I put here a modern day cover up. This is why they want you to think that aliens rule this part of the world, when it is, in all actuality, the very place of origin for the Aryan race. Actually, Gennesaret, the Sea of Galilee, that's Gennesaret. The original word is Gennesaret, and so it means that those who came down with the light beings, that's what was corrupted into the Nephilim and all this other stuff, or creatures with wings on their back when they were Aryans. The fallen ones were the ones with the head knowledge that knew how to build all the great modern civilizations, knew about free energy, could build anything, monuments that were so big, rocks that were so big, cut perfectly that we can't reproduce it today. And they weren't aliens, they were Aryans, using the giants with them because they apparently learned how to breed giants at the same time. Not that there weren't giants prior to this cycle of life that we have on our planet. A lot of it's been well covered up under the dirt, but it's a lot of it's coming out now, and there's a lot we'll say about it in the future. We are not promoting any Aryanism here, but we are only talking about the true history. Okay, and there's my disclaimer. The issue of race is a natural part of all our forbidden history. In no way is one race to be favored over another, as what we are talking about is the evidence for abuse by one race over all of the other races, including its own Aryan tribe, right? They enslaved us. So in reality, there is only one earthly Asian race, the royal eyes, all. Okay? We have to be wide open to hearing everything there is about our past, all in order to be able to make any clear sense out of it. And we're almost on to the document now. One letter, one symbol, one sound, one alphabet, one origin. The first rule of the election, the election. Anything beyond this, it becomes the author of the great literary confusion. Okay? There are exceptions for this rule, primarily, and that is with the letters A and letter T. The T can be turned off or turned on, and it reveals the hidden nature of a word. And the A, there's the first letter of the alphabet is a consonant. It gave the first voice to the V, not the B. It was the V. And but then there's an unwritten vowel in the original. They didn't write the vowels. They spoke the vowels as they read the consonantal, and they're not consonants. They're sonants. You see, they put the con in front of it. Listen to the word, right? Sonants, like sonar. And then they put the con in front of it because they knew they're putting the con on us, just like the word Bible means go spell. It's no consonant, it's a sonant. They're just laughing all the way to their Jewish banks, aren't they, ladies and gentlemen? All the way. And they can either be silent, or on sound. AT, the first and the last letters of the original alphabet, the alphavat. That's the alpha serpent. You see, because everything is serpent, just like the alphabet. There are a few exceptions for these rules, okay? And that's why we need to talk about them. You're always welcome to call in. You're trying to figure something out. I'm here to help, ladies and gentlemen. You can call me on the side. I prefer to answer questions on the program, but I'd be glad to talk on the side if you're nervous about doing it on the program, okay? And or if you just want to get a couple of the PDFs of our works, okay, we're here to serve. So ignorance, that means to ignore, right? They just ignore. Don't look over here, okay? Ignorance is the greatest deceiver. How many words is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And people still don't get it. 5 words says it all. And now we're into the Gospel of the Nazarene, star message of the Nazarene, the story of Yeshua, the Moeshiach, commonly known as Jesus the Messiah, a version that has not been Vatican filtered, combined with Common English, Indo-Germanic. And so I'm going to go to a break now, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I got to rest my voice. Then we're going to be into the meat of the document, making history, being a part of history. How about you? You making history? Well, then join us. You can make history with us, okay? So where am I going here? And we're going to go. Maybe I should pull up my... oh, this is fun, juggling, I got to tell you. Okay, there we go there. Yeah, one more. Boom. All right, and we're going to... What do we want here on the player? Okay, we did that. Okay, when we talk about all the beating up we've been having going on, maybe we should play, well, I don't know. Let's do the, you're not supposed to do this on a broadcast. That's okay. We're the real public radio, but they got all the money. We don't have any money, but we do get it done on a song, a wing, and a prayer. So don't go away, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. And somebody's got to do it. And I'm just happy to oblige. And welcome back to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. And you're tuned in right here to Forbidden History Live, Law Scriptures and Bible Translations on the Original Thought Transliteration Project, OTTP. And I'm your host, Desert Owl. And, you don't do the program for a few days and you lose your audience at times. So, anyway, most people want to come and hear it at their leisure on another time, but that's why I mentioned at the beginning, you actually won't be able to listen to it for 24 hours because we're on a special program with who. And so our program, rather than being uploaded within the hour, is uploaded in 24 hours. I hope that changes, but I doubt it. And thank you for the audio check, Ninja. Okay, so but that's okay, because it's just a delay, and but it's a shame because people get the notice, then they miss the live, then they want to come in and listen, and they're not going to listen, and then they forget, So that's a tactic, to slow our growth down, and to discourage people from wanting to to join us. So either get it live and and keep an eye out for the timer, because we always have the timer countdown on the program, or just realize, don't get frustrated, but you may, you're going to keep clicking on it, but you're not going to get it for just about 24 hours. That's the way it's been on the last several programs on Ninja's channel and on mine, on our first one that we did on our test. Rather frustrating because I'd like to review it. And the listener number is wrong. You're saying the listener number is wrong, Ninja? Okay. Well, anyway, in spite of that, let's get on with the read here. So I got to go back to my desktop. And, geez, where is that? It's all a blur. All right, I'm working my way there. Yeah, well, I know they do it all to us, So, okay, so the Nazarenes, or the star message of the Nazaré, the story of Yeshua the Moashiach, commonly known as Jesus the Messiah, a version that has not been filtered by the Vatican, Common English Indo-Germanic. And so basically and by the way, you can be following, of course, with your Gospel of the Nazarenes, the Gospel of the Holy 12, which is like a second generation from the Gospel of the Nazarene. It's not perfect, but it's very important and significant, and only very little difference, really. Keywords, yeah, in certain areas. So I just finished the Kayla D, the Gospel of the Wise Strangers. It's up on Amazon. We can get it to you on PDF if you can't afford it. So I'm now going to do this. I'm going to really try to hammer it out. I'm not going to do all the the footnotes and all the extra work that I had to do on Kayla D, which took about a year. I'm going to be knocking this out in 3 or 4 months, okay? 90 or 120 days. I can virtually do one election a day, and there's about 98 of them. And so I just last night finished the first one, and I want to share it, but I'm going to also read to you what I have at the back, because I actually have the last 6 elections completed that are from another document that I had already published, The Order of the Kingdom. It's called The Order of the Kingdom. Because I knew that this was too important. This is the only scripture, or what we call gospel, which is correctly the star message of enlightenment, that actually has the protocols for how to live your life as a people of the way, which is the original word. It wasn't Christian. It's a people of the way. And and it was like 45 days after the resurrection, and Yeshua was still meeting with them. And when they're all together, they start asking him questions. Well, what do we do about this? What do we do for this? And and he was given the answers, and so they wrote it down. So this is the only gospel, we use their terminology, the gospel that has the protocols for the life. Other than, I have the Didache, which is the means the knowledge of the two ways, what I call the Handbook of Christianity. We have that available. That is the quintessential handbook, but it's a book by itself, whereas it makes sense that at the end of the gospel, they would have had the protocols that the people would live by, the basics, just the fundamental part of that. And we don't see that anywhere else but here. And so that creates the evidence that that this document is relevant because it has something that none of the others have, that is about the pure essence of our walk, of our life. How could it be discredited or be discounted by anyone, especially without reading it? Because once you read it, then you would know, you see. But again, people, they want to pretend something, that they are something, but they don't want to have to do all that it takes in order to put on the pure garment of light, So here we go. Okay, the election, the introduction. This is a transliteration of one of several versions of which have existed all in similar form. And remember that I am introducing the modern with the Indo-Germanic and then the literal, which typically gives you a graphic illustration or reference that you can see with your inner eye. Not an abstract term, but a literal sense that refers to something within nature most often. So the book of Matthew, the shulfar, which is the original word for book, the shulfar of Matu E Shalah, and I'm assuming the text is big enough for everybody. Just give me a heads up, Ninja, real quick. That way I can know for sure. Is the I'm going to just go ahead and type over here. Is the text large enough? Okay, and let's go. Oh, I'm watching myself now. Let me go back here. That was getting me crazy. All right, over here, boom, and then back to the document. So just give me a heads up on the text. Is the text large enough? I don't want to go bigger because it gets real bright on my screen. But let me know it's readable, it's doable. I know people with a small device may not be able to read, but they should be able to read it if they take off their glasses and just look at it closer, I think. So okay, so the book of Matthew, the shulfar of Matu E Shalah, was originally written in Hebrew and was the only gospel or star message scripture officially accepted by the Nazaré. And there I didn't go down with the T. I missed that one. So forgive me if I make corrections while I'm in here, but this is an ongoing project. We're the Real Public Radio, and we are grassroots all the way, ladies and gentlemen. Grassroots, and they got all the money. We don't have any money, and so we have to be creative. And so I'm getting a text. I can see it. Okay, I know you can see it, but is it good? Is it good enough? That's the question. Okay, I think that's what you mean. Okay, all right. Always an ambiguous reply. I gotta interpret it. All right. Yeah, I know you can see it, but I just wanted to make sure it was big enough. That was the question. So, okay, so the Matu E Shalah was originally written in, let me try this again. The book of Matthew, the shulfar of Matu E Shalah, was originally written in Hebrew and was the only star message or gospel scripture officially accepted by the Nazaré, the Nazarite community, as the true, authentic story of the royal star Yeshua, commonly known as Yeshua. Yes, good, big enough, laughing out loud. Okay, good enough. Don't worry, be happy. All right. That's what they say down under. Don't worry. No worries. Don't know where that come from. I mean, good to know. Well, that's because they were all ex-convicts over there, right? Yeah, don't worry, they're not gonna hang you, Bob. No worries, man. You're gonna be set free tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. The penal colony, officially accepted by the Nazarene or the Nazarite community as the true, authentic story of the royal star Yeshua, commonly known as Jesus. Except of Yeshua, excerpt of Yeshua from the Gospel of the Perfect Life. I think that was supposed to be bold. Anyway. But there will rise up after all of you my 12 men, Ashan, of corrupted. Okay, here it is. The men does apply here. Okay, this is the excerpt right here. Okay, I gotta put on my thinking cap. I better underline that. That way I can get it better. My head is spinning. I'm multitasking and operating. I'm the engineer here, so I'm under a little more stress than I normally would be on my presentation. So forgive me, friends. Okay, and but there will rise up after all of you my 12 men, meaning criminals and sinners and monsters of corrupted minds, who will through ignorance or through craft suppress and hide many of the things which I have spoken to you about, and ascribe to me doctrines that I have never taught, sowing weeds among the good seed, which I have given for you to sow within this world. And the word good is often used to supplement perfect, so it should be really perfect seed. That's another cloud. Want to correct that now while I'm there. Within this world. Okay. Then the truth of the Yahweh will have to endure this contradiction of sinners, all walking with their eyes closed. But this is how it has been, a la Babylon, and this is how it will be again. Yet the time will come that these things that they have hidden away and corrupted will once again be revealed. That's what's happening right now. That's talking about this right here. And then made known. And again, the truth in those words, those Eshavors, will make free all of those who were always bound with their eyes always closed within the sin of darkness. And sin is an abstract term. And literally it means to have your eyes closed. And when your eyes are closed, you're in darkness. And if your eyes have been opened, why would you want to close them again? A time had been determined when the spirit of this world would enter into the perfect circle of the called out ones. And my doctrine and precepts will be made void through the corruption of men and women. Judgment will fall upon the world once these things have occurred. And that's where we are today. Judgment is falling upon it. These criminals have destroyed our world and the ozone layer, and it's going down, and that's why the genocide program is on, ladies and gentlemen. And this is from the Gospel of the Perfect Life, also known as the Gospel of the Holy 12, discovered in Tibet, and which was originally the Gospel of the Nazarene, or the Nazare correctly. Okay, and so this is, and I have to tell you, in working, I've got 3 different versions. One that was translated also in Israel, okay, and that one, so it's done by those people who are proficient in Hebrew and Aramaic and what have you. And so as I'm comparing all 3 versions, the Holy 12, the Gospel of the Nazarene, and then the one that came out of Israel as well, the Gospel of the Nazarene, I then compare each of them, right? I'm comparing because I'm looking to see all the the ins and outs of this translation that they're presenting, and knowing the original thought. What the problem is they're trying to translate into Pig Latin, number one, and then very often they're translating using words that are ambiguous or not clear, and I get my dictionaries out and I look them up and I make it clear. So it's the power of the 3 coming into one together, but also knowing, becoming proficient in the Indo-Germanic and the modern thought, as we read with Waddle, what this is about, that we're speaking in a code, in a primitive form of communication that's been corrupted. And so these other translators are not in on that. They're not privy to it. It has not been revealed to them. And so they're stuck in Babylon at the same time while they're trying to give us an important translation. That's basically the best way I could say it. Yes, I look up the Hebrew, I look up Greek, I look up all of them. I got a dictionary on Hittite, on Welsh, on Gaelic, on all you name it. Okay, I got a dictionary. I've got a dictionary, and so it's about following and then you compare. You compare the 10 different words, the same word in 10 different tongues, and you see how they're used in all the variable cultures, because they're all Indo-Germanic. These are fabricated societies by the one world order. They played a game on us, you see, and they drew lines in the sand. They created the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, the German, the Dutch, the English. They created through the priesthood. Why did every one of them? Think about it. Each one of these cultures, so-called nations, had a Catholic priest. Oh, okay, so that would be the perfect spy network, wouldn't it? That'd be the perfect way to give your marching orders to Bubba and say, hey, you're going to go attack Boo Boo over there. Go attack Boo Boo because Boo Boo deserves it. He's been a bad boy, and we're going to use this opportunity because we can't let any crisis go to waste, and we'll then change Boo Boo and we'll put in Baba, or Alibaba, and this is how they played the game. And so when just like with the Nikolai Romanov family, in Russia, then the Lenin with the rail cars full of gold and Jews, the Bolsheviks, 100 kites out of New York, called majority. Bolshevik means majority, and it was 100 kites come out of New York that overturned the Tsar of Russia so they could institute Jewish banking, and so what a world we have, ladies and gentlemen. But they engineered, what I'm trying to say is they engineered the variable tongues or the election of each culture, because they were all one. That's why when you look at Spanish or French, you can really see the Latin clearly in there, right? If you looked at the Greek, you'd say, no, I think Greek is all by itself, but it's not. It's Indo-Germanic. Same with Hebrew, and that's Yiddish. Basically, the Hebrew we see today is Yiddish. That's all. It's the greatest show on earth, ladies and gentlemen. Who could figure this out? It had to be revealed by my Redeemer, because I'm not smart enough to figure this stuff out. Okay, it's by revealed. It's a gift. He said, I give you a talent, you better know how to use it. Okay, talent is the biggest coin in the ancient world. It's solid gold, and we have to see and read it for ourselves. All right, so continuing here, the greatest power from the sun, moon, and earth are the purest thoughts of conviction. Viction, take off the con, victory of light, the thoughts of the victory of light. In the beginning is the word, the logo, the Eshavor, a star, a royal flaming Eshavor sword, the flaming sword on the page, the royal center that points in every direction, the soul, the sun, and then the V in the word sun in the Latin, and the son of light, and another T has to go down on that. Okay. And we hit save, and we're proofreading while we're on the program. I have not read this yet, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm proofing it here. I'll do it again on my own, but just what things are obvious I'm going to touch on. And so now revealing the True Star message. And by the way, anybody can call in. If you got a comment or a question, I'll stop. Anywhere in this presentation. If you're chomping at the bit, and you never call in, so it's about time you start calling in. And love to hear from you, but if you got a question, and then it's legitimate that you want an answer, okay? And so I want to help everybody out. I got something that should have been bold. Let me do that. Okay, boom. Okay, so now revealing the True Star message within the original thought. The dictionary and thesaurus primer. So it's sort of like the primer to the dictionary. and I do a lot of it in the margins, as I did with the last book, the Kayla Day. Okay, so the divine keys of fire. So we're talking about in the capital letters, all about the capital letters. That's why I decided to move away from upper and lower case, and we predominate with the upper case because that's the original alphabet that was breathed into Adam. Okay, so look deep into all of nature, the all of nature, and you will then begin to comprehend the message of everything that you need to know. There's an ancient sage. A primer on the ancient Indo-Germanic mother tongue. The Indo-Germanic Aramaic mother tongue is the gnosis, the sun knowledge that was first breathed into Adam, the creation, Adam, or dictoma, dictum. That which is first is superior and the original. That's the natural law. But you must see and read it for yourself. That's the real interpretation of the word behold. You must see and read it for yourself. Notice he always said that at the beginning of a profound statement, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? And just seeing some things I missed. I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. That's Confucius. So that's why we don't just talk, but we show you the visual graphic at the same time, because you're using two senses, which will help you to remember it better. But you got to work with these Aishavoras. You got to kick them around, test drive them, and turn them upside down and everything, and then you'll have a better appreciation as to the challenge that is faced in a conspiracy to deny you the light. Okay, it's a conspiracy to deny you the light. And but the good news is science is based on exact knowing, and it is possible to know exactly what letters are legit and what letters were made to corrupt our form of communication. All letters are pictures. They are ancient symbols, and they all are all true spiritual seeds of light that tell a real story as they carry within them a dual theme about the great mystery of life. You can now follow this pure trail all the way back in time, back to its very root eye, all the way back as we venture on then into that very beginning of time. Ancient literature. One of the greatest challenges that we have when we are dealing with ancient literature is in the different use and meanings or implications of the words in which in each of the respective ancient tongues or diction. Having a little eye problem, probably need to move this a little closer. Sorry about that. Okay, simply put, diction can have force and power, or it can be totally dead. The English diction, for example, is totally dead. And it is dead because it does not follow any of the natural laws of diction. That is, none of the original root and universal laws that still belong to basic diction. There are a number of them, but they never show it to us in school. And I have some cleanup I've got to do on this document. It's not finished, so take note of that, and I have to go back on it. I was just copying and pasting from another document this material, and still have to clean it up. The most basic law in diction, and I just like using the word diction, it's election. But people get diction, and they still have a problem with election. So I still use the slave terms just to help everybody out. Okay, so let me take a sip. And don't forget, you're hearing it first, ladies and gentlemen, right here. That's what they didn't want you to know, that we're spilling the beans on. The most basic law in diction is that all diction is supposed to sound as it appears. Since the English diction is made up of many different tongues, and it is also a corrupted or a controlled, engineered, and bastardized diction that is not simple, nor does it follow any of the required fundamental rules of diction. And this is the reason we constantly hear that English is one of the hardest forms of communication there is to learn. The masculine and feminine characteristics have been taken out. Some letters have more than one sound. We even have sounds in our words that no letter can pronounce, as in the word de jour. De jour, which clearly comes from the French. But we see also the word jury there, jury. We don't say jure, but it's the TZ is the original letter that they took out and gave the J. That's not good. Let me minimize. Reconnection successful. Oh, great. Thank you, OBS. All right. So we get it free, by the way. So good job. So let me just check. I'm going to check our chat real quick and see what's going on. Lisa, I agreed. I find English difficult. The letters sounds differently to what they are in the words. Okay. Thank you for your input on that, Elisa. Absolutely. Yeah, she comes from Poland. And yeah, thank you for the heads up on that, Lisa. Thank you. Yeah, she comes from Poland and speaks really good English, really good English. Hats off to her. And so continuing on here, uh, translations and modern day problems. Excerpt from Robert Young of Young's Analytical Concordance to the Bible and Young's literal translation of the Holy Bible. The inspiration of the Bible extends only to the original text, as it came from the pens of the original writers. Therefore, not to any of the translators ever made by man, however aged, venerable, or good, and only insofar as any of these adhere to the original, neither adding to nor omitting from it one particle, are they of any real value. To the extent that they vary from the original, the doctrine of verbal inspiration is lost, so far as that version is concerned. A strictly literal rendering may not be so pleasant to the ear as one where the apparent sense is chiefly aimed at, yet, and that would be literating then, right? Not translating, but literating. And let me try this again. So a strictly literal rendering may not be so pleasant to the ear as one, and he did the literal translation of the Bible, and I've never read it through because it is difficult to read the way he did it, but it's important. I refer to it. I use it as a reference, but part of it is because it's in small print, because he, the literating, like my work, expanded the textual material. But yeah, he was a genius, and he wrote the Analytical Concordance. It's better than Strong's, but Strong's is better for alphabetical finding of words, whereas Young, he put his in a topical topics of import, so they're arranged differently in the dictionary. So a strictly literal rendering may not be so pleasant to the ear as one where the apparent sense is chiefly aimed at. Yet it is not euphemy, but truth that ought to be sought, and where such a vision as the one commonly in use in this country, there are scarcely two consecutive verses. Listen to this. There are scarcely two consecutive verses where there is some departure from the original. Okay? So we should have put a capital O and capital T on original. That's noteworthy right there. That's the problem right there. Control save. Okay. So such as those indicated, let's try this again. There are scarcely two consecutive verses where there is some departure from the original, such as those indicated, and where these variations may be counted by tens of thousands. Wow. As admitted on all hands. In other words, it's not like it's a secret, right? It is difficult to see how verbal inspiration can be of the least practical use to those who depend upon that version alone. That's the whole bottom line dealing with that King James. Don't mess with my King James. Okay, you're a cultic Freemason who wrote the Book of Beasts and burned women and children and men at the stake for not going along for the party. That's why that's like putting the pieces of history together, and it was just within the last year that I made the connection that it was the Pilgrims left England, right, to flee from King James. The Puritans, those who were called Puritans, fled England and the terror of King James, and went to America, right? Went to America and to Plymouth Rock, and to escape the tyranny of James. Do you get it? You get it? It was all fraud. Everything that this about King James, the perfect translation. There was no 50 scholars that got together, and did all that. Just like Betsy Ross didn't make the American flag, Columbus didn't discover America. Francis Bacon wrote the script for the 500-year cycle of the Phoenix of Quetzalcoatl, the Toltec god, also known as Americu, the feathered serpent, the phoenix that flies back every 500 years, that they had a pretend discovery of America to engineer the Jewish banking structure of how they would organize slaves and get them to go to work for them. They were called the plantations. The word plantation, as it was used originally, meant the people that they brought over to America. They were implanted. And let them cut the trees, let them build the roads, and then we'll come on over with our caviar and our champagne, right? Lake Champlain. All right, so the Hebrew, let's see. So paraphrasing Robert Young, get this. There is no future tense. All right? So when people are trying to apply those scriptures to today, guess what? It was about then, back then. Okay? What part of it is completed, it is finished, don't people get? The only future reference was when he said that there would be a Gentile dispensation, meaning the world was coming to an end sometime in the future, and that is today. But the last days were 2,000 years ago. Those were known as the last days. After the 10 tribes were annihilated, dissolved, spread around the world, and the two remaining tribes, were then sent to Babylon, exiled, and then after that they were under Greek occupation and tortured to death and terrorized by the Antiochus Epiphanes, one of the Greek generals of Alexander the Great after Alexander died. There you read in the New Testament or the Old Testament pseudepigrapha. I think it's called Fourth Maccabees. That's the last book of the Maccabees, and it is about how Antiochus tortured people to death for refusing to eat pork. He'd bring him into his palace and say, "You're going to eat some pork today, priest." And he'd say, "I can't eat the pork." Then they put him on the rack and they burn out his entrails. They do everything to torture him to death to eat pork. And women were throwing their babies off of cliffs or jumping off with them because they would be tortured to death by Antiochus if they circumcised their babies. All of this went on back then. Tell me that's not a great tribulation. Tell me that doesn't look like the end of days. And then from there was the Roman occupation, who nailed people to thousands of stakes along the roadways so people would remember that they're now in charge. And all of that happened. So they were looking for the Messiah. That was the last days when they're looking that he would come at the end of time, and he came. But because they changed the times and seasons, now people are looking for him to come back. When he told them, he said when he went up to the throne of the Son on Mount Gerizim, I believe it was, or Mount of Olives. I'm confused now. When he was taken up before over 100 of them, and he says, "Behold, I am with you always. Behold, I am with you always. Behold, I am with you always, even till the end of time." That is the end of the Gentile dispensation. So how can he be coming back when he is with us always, and he's been talking to me all my life, giving me visions and communication of the highest order to be able to do this work? How can he not be here? He's spirit. Of course he is here. You see? But they got everybody thinking, well, we know he's coming back. Well, coming back for what? He's here. He's here helping us to escape this world. What do you think? He's going to come back and sit on some throne in Israel? Build another temple? That's all the nonsense these people put out, or it's one nonsense after another, but they don't know how to interpret the scriptures. And part of it's because they stole the majority of the writings from us. And that's why we got to collect the lost writings. And that's why I got them back in the back of each of these books, the Kayla D and now the Gospel of the Nazarenes. I got all the lost writings back there. You can get on PDF if you can't afford the thousands of dollars that I've had to put out for all of these books, or thank you to some sponsors at different times that were able to get it for me. So anyway, continuing here, the Hebrew verb, let me just do that one more time. So paraphrasing Robert Young, there is no future tense in the Hebrew in Aramaic, as future tense is expressed as present tense. So like when they would be talking about the Messiah is coming, right? And it's 2,000 years before the fact, the way they would write it is, the Messiah has come. He has come to deliver his people, but yet it was still in the future. But they said it in present tense because they make it like it's a fact, because it is a fact that you can rely upon. His coming is that he comes. Just like the sun rises every day and you never think about it or never question it, the sun rises and he is the sunrise. You see? That's the symbolism in that. The Hebrew verb Nathan, sometimes also a noun, and that's the word nation. Nathan is a corruption with the T still. It's really Nashan. There's the word, the Ashan that came down with an N at the front, at the back, a perfect anagram, was corrupted into Nathan. But let's just pretend it's Nathan, right? In Hebrew, the verb Nathan, sometimes also a noun, is rendered by the King James translators in 67 different ways. Are you kidding me? You see? Robert Young, from Robert Young's Analytical Concordance. This guy was the ultimate scholar, ladies and gentlemen. He was one of the best, just like Farrar Fenton. He was beyond the majority. He was on the front line. Okay? So the above final quote by Young expresses what cannot be if one is guided towards the truth in the scripture. It is impossible for one English word to do the business for 67 other Yiddish, Hebrew, or Greek words, ladies and gentlemen. This expresses nothing other than a fraud in our modern day translations. Perhaps this is the reason King James had his lamp put out, which is an idiom that means having his seed line cut off, which is what happened when his son King Charles had his head cut off. In other words, the evidence is that King James was cursed. He received the curse of the scripture upon him with his seed, and that's why with the seed line cut off, and also why he was held in disdain by the English people throughout time. They didn't like the guy, okay? And maybe that's because he was a Freemason also, right? The founder. Go give me a break. So it was like they're creating their new image at that time, right? It was a new image, and they even pretended to blow up the parliament to make him look like the victim. You see, what a great, clever deal! The ever flipping coin, right? Never know which way it's going to land, and so whatever his name was, Fox something or other, was going to blow up the building, a Jesuit, but yet he was made into the poop, not with the scoop, but the poop, because he was then killed because he was betrayed by his secret order in order to become the patsy, just like McVeigh or just like some other patsy, that thought he was the good guy, but then he found out he was betrayed by his own, because it served their purpose, you see, to create the illusion that King James was the poor victim when he was the oppressor. In essence, the King James Bible is merely a theft of intellectual property that was stolen from William Tyndale. The King James Version is in all actuality 90% William Tyndale, and all the King James Version translators had to do was to remove anything that had the potential to really set someone free from the Vatican government. They didn't want that. The above statement is a fact, and of course I should have added, and all they wanted to do was to import their occultic agenda, like in Psalm 119, the biggest psalm in the book. They broke into 22 sections, each with 8 verses, and it has a Hebrew letter above each of the sections in alphabetical order. So, but yet there were never any Hebrew script that what we call the square root script that came out of Babylon is not the original Aramaic, and so they imported what was never there, right? To show, and but interestingly enough, Psalm 119 is right at the very center of the book. If you count the chapters in each direction, it's right at the center, right? The same number of chapters go forward and go backward. And so Psalm 119, there's your 911, 911, just flip it over. Your 911, their occultic code, 119, Psalm 119 at the very center of the Bible, showing that the Jews, of course, are at the center of all this, controlling our words, right? And then they like Psalm 46. You know, if you count down 46 words from the top, starting with the first word in the first verse, 46 words down, you get shake. And when you go to Psalm 46 and read from the bottom up, starting with the last word, 46 words up, you get spear. Well, there's your Francis Bacon's Shakespeare. The spear shaker, it was what he was called. And so they were going to use the King James Bible. Don't let any, conspiracy go without a good hit, and use it to then standardize Shakespearean English within all of England, because some people in some towns are speaking French, some people in other towns are speaking Anglo-Saxon, and there was no standardization for the English, at the time, and so they used the King James as putting it in every pulpit in every community to then standardize the English form, and they had to do that for their one world agenda. Okay, another story for another day. So the above statement is a fact of history that anyone can research for themselves. As I am looking at my copy of Tyndale in front of me as I make this statement. Another fact is that Tyndale's introduction is the most sophisticated introduction in all of modern translation history. William Tyndale was, in essence, an enlightened intellectual genius. The only thing that the King James Version controllers had to do was to destroy the great work of Tyndale, cover its true origin, and then take credit for what was merely an illusion of religious freedom. And then I have my footnote here. All of the Puritans had to escape the terror of King James by fleeing to Holland, America, or to other destinations. I'm getting a note here, desert. I have a question about Shakespeare. Okay, stand by, Ninja. I'll tell you when to call in. Okay, so King James had, very, very quickly here, King James had written, let me try that again. All of the Puritans had to escape the terror of King James by fleeing to Holland, America, or other destinations. King James had written the Book of Beasts and used it as the manual for burning his victims at the stake. The King James was also the true founder of the Freemasons for the Vatican, Vaticana. The enlightened only want the truth, and deep from the tree's root, it is all an open secret, ladies and gentlemen. Transliterate. Let me see how many I got. Oh yeah, we're at the end here. Then there's lecture 1. Okay, so transliterate from the Latin litera, like that word terra there for terror and for tearing, and the lit for litter, like garbage. Okay, that's interesting. Litera, to represent or spell, that is words, letters, symbols, or characters of a language, or a lexion, or diction, or tone key, in the letter or characters of another diction. So let's try this again. Litera, to represent or spell in the letters or characters of another diction or alphabet, as in Yiddish Hebrew words with Roman letters, or symbols as the New Testament was transliterated into Greek characters from the original Aramaic / Indo-Germanic characters. Second definition, translate, the ability of a restaurant waiter to take orders into a form of communication comprehended only by himself and the cook. Let me reduce the size of that font there. It's already reduced. What am I doing? Transliteration or transliteration, an act, process, or instance of transliterating, say, a table of 7 different systems of writing for Russian, also the product of such transliterating as in pseudo-biblical Yiddish Hebrew, provides us with a far stranger system than even that of the cuneiform style. And then see magic code. translation, lection, and so yeah, I mean, who would want to learn Hebrew? Notice how none of those letters look natural, right? You don't see a zero, you don't see a pyramid like a letter A, you don't see a V, you don't see an H, you don't see these perfect forms that tell a story. Instead, you see what looks like occultism, right? And then like for 5 of the different letters, if it ends up at the end of a word, then they change the picture again. So it's the ultimate occultism, and it was to ultimately the Heavenly Father allowed these people to create this system that they received at Babylon. There's a story about that I can share one day, because it was given to Ezra the high priest actually, but the Father knew that they would then corrupt it, and it was used actually to identify with the world ruling class, the front men running the world for the unseen hand. And so that's who they are. You see that alphabet, you know who they are. They follow the Babylonian Talmud, ladies and gentlemen. And those forms of letters were never in our original scriptures, because the original scriptures had capital letters like this. You see, capital letters like that, and that they were switched them out. And so that which is first is original. That which is first is superior by its graphic form. That's called lexicography, or the lexicography. By reading the letter system, you know what it means, not just by reading the entire word in one shot, but you are supposed to be sophisticated and able to analyze tra as meaning 3, and tran as in to transform, and literate, and I'm saying that there's something going on in all of this, and it's a multiple of many words within one. And so it's just like a paragraph is made up of a bunch of words. A word itself can be made up of a bunch of words, and we don't ever know how to read it. So transliteration is and I read that already, right? Yeah. Okay, so translocate, to change the location or the position of something, such as symbols. And that's what they did. They flipped the words around, the letters around, and so that it was really cool. And they put S's at the end of words that didn't belong there. What the occult did to our words, right? And signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor law. Confucius and Moses, Moeshan, was told to throw down the staff that guided him, and it became a serpent, right? And so the serpent is what's leading us. We came to the knowledge of the truth and the higher knowledge through the serpent, through the corrupt form, the serpent system, right? And so there's 2 serpents. There's a black serpent and there's a white serpent. The serpent is not evil by itself. Moses was led by the serpent, but it was the white serpent that represented Yeshua. And the occultic are represented by the black serpent. And it's called the Naga, or the Nagash. And it literally means the wise one. You see, so we get a negative connotation with the serpent, but we have to see how they saw things, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what we're trying to convey here, or relay. Maybe not convey, relay. The Aramaic was used as the basis for the English, and this is the reason that the original thought is easy to recover, as we saw with Waddle as well, with his quote. See the Lost Gospel of the Khaledi by this same author and translator. It is all about the breath that still breathes today, ladies and gentlemen, a transliteration based upon the original thought and the other lost writings. And now we're into the election, and we're going to take a break, and when we get back, we'll take a call from Ninja. Okay, so let me hit save, control save, and I may actually do the rest of this tomorrow after our call. We may be done, so I may just open it to callers, and then we'll close out, because I'm actually feeling it in my voice today, ladies and gentlemen. I can't get over. We've been on already for 2.5 hours. Wow. So let's find a break here. And so don't go away. We'll be right back with what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. And hey there, Vision in Christ. Good to have you. Okay, music to your ears already. Well, we're going to hear some more music right now, and we'll be right back. Okay, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. And we've got Ninja's going to call in right now. I'm just taking a note, song two. Got to do an adjustment on the music here. And you're tuned in right here to Forbidden History Live, Lost Scriptures, and Bible Translations on the Original Thought Transliteration Project, translating it right before your eyes, ladies and gentlemen, in the ongoing live presentation. Okay, and stand by as we got Ninja calling in, and let's see if where that sound button is. Ninja, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
G'day.
see, so I already had that unmuted, and that worked out really good. So you see, I didn't have to click on anything. I was confused for a moment, but I think I got it. And so, okay, so thank you for all of your engineering and helping me to get to this broadcast. And so, what's your thoughts today, Ninja?
Okay, I just want to say thank you to Eliza. I can see that we can be heard, both of us.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, because I can't. Speaking of ninjaneering, I can't check at the moment because if I unmute the computer, then it'll come through the phone on air. Shakespeare. What you were saying about Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Helped me connect some dots that were obvious. I just never saw it before. Like I know. It's just the way you said it. I think it just helped connect things even more because I know the Francis Bacon and the King James. Like I know all of that, but it made me think. When you said that they made that the standard English, like the standard language.
Right. In other words, it was used as a tool to create a standardization for the English
Yeah.
diction because it was so mixed up. In other words, if I pulled my Middle English dictionary off the shelf up here by Skeet, then it would blow your mind because you would not believe the variable spellings on different words. There was no standardization, and that was a problem when they were going to use England as the whipping boy of the world. You know, they were going to use it as their platform for military conquest of maintaining order around the world, so that people didn't give the finger. Forgive me the French, but to give the finger to the proverbial one world order and say it like Gaddafi said, we're going to make our own banking system. We're going to not play your game anymore. So that's always been a challenge for the one world order because there are people and leaders, just like the president of Panama back around the 1950s, and so the CIA had to go in and take him out because he gave all of his the property to the peasants, to help out the people. But that's not what their game is. They want to kill the people, so standardization is what was needed, and so that's what happened. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, continuing from that, because I didn't know that, continuing from that made me think back to my school days. I didn't finish school. I was out of there as soon as it was okay to go, pretty much. As soon as my parents let me leave school, which was at the end of year 10, as soon as they said if I could get a job, I could leave school when I got my school certificate at the end of year 10. So I started in the workforce the day after I left school. But anyway, so I never experienced it, but I wondered why all through school, all the way up to the end of year 10, you learn English. And then suddenly you get to year 11 and 12. This is in Australia. I don't know about anywhere else. Suddenly you get to year 11 and 12, and you're learning the other version of English, which is Shakespeare. I never understood that. Like the year 12s, year 11s and 12s were always like going on about their 12-page essays they had to write on Shakespeare. And I never had to write an essay either because that was a year 11 and 12 thing. Yeah, I never got that. And so now I can see. So thank you. And is that why? And I don't get why it wasn't until like year 11 and 12. Why not? Why not? I don't want to say teach, but why not have that all through school? Yeah, it's confusing, and
Well,
I
you know,
guess that.
I when I had English, I hated it, and it was because it was a communist system. You know, that's why I
Yeah,
hated it, because literature should be fun. You know,
yeah,
and so they took the fun out of it because they wanted to indoctrinate us, and that's why we see all of these great, like with Max Egan. You know, he's bringing out on the last program he did all of the perversion that they're trying to introduce the little
yeah,
boys and girls to.
yeah,
You know, and so
yes,
so the thing is, it's not about you know the true science of literature the way it should be exciting, but instead it's about how to indoctrinate a people into their papal bull. You know,
mm.
yeah, Serpent Man, the Serpent Man. You know that the serpent cult that's running our world. So okay, so any follow up on that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just thank you. Thank you. I like it when you get on your rants, and you've done a few of those during this program. So
I'm in trouble, I know, with Bhagwan Gandhi Rashish. Yeah, yeah. He's gonna break out the hashish and call on the hashishim, the assassins. They get totally stoned on hashish and then they go kill their victims. I guess it feels good, makes them feel better, you know, when they do it. So
yeah,
anyway, yeah.
yeah,
So
that counts. That's what counts. Yeah,
yeah.
as long as they.
As long as they're feeling good, that's all that matters. That's right.
Yeah.
So okay, well, anybody else want to call in? This is the time to do it, and I'm all spent. I can feel it, and I have to get on those rants. You know, I that cost me the program for the rest of the program because I wanted to go over the other read, but it'll be part two, and so I'll have
It's good
the
though. It's true.
right
It's true. People
the
need to hear it.
the A
Yeah.
election. I'll have the A election number one to read, and then in the back the six parts where it's the order of the kingdom. So that's going to be the cliffhanger, and that'll be coming back on tomorrow. Okay, and how far are you away from setting up your brand new computer so you can spell me every other day?
I'm hoping. I'm hoping to do a test tomorrow, Australian time, which is what evening, your evening night over there in the US. Anyway, I'm hoping to do it. I want to do a test tomorrow. It's just taking a while moving things from one computer to the other. That's all. Because it involves unplugging an external hard drive and plugging it back into the other computer and just back and forth, back and forth. So that it's just taking a bit of time to move stuff. So,
All right.
but I want to do a live test tomorrow and go live tomorrow night Australian time. So
Okay,
in
so
20.
tomorrow night, trying. So
Is that
are
okay?
you? In other words, are you doing the next program, or am I going to be on in 24 hours? That's my question.
Do you want to be on Ask Desert Owl in
Well, I'll be on with
the next?
Downstairs Now, but that's your program, that's your channel. So my question is, are you saying in 24 hours that you may be good to go in 24 hours from now, less three?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. Yeah, well, let's do it. As long as you feel confident that the system's good to go, let's do it. And
The computer is capable, and that's all that matters.
all right,
All I have to do is finish loading up the OBS and do a quick little test. But it's like compared to what we were dealing with before, Desert, there's no issues. It's
All right.
yeah, it's all good.
All right, then let's do it, okay? Because we got the computer. I'm in debt for $200.
Yeah.
The Ted passed away, and they closed the bank, and so the 200 that Ira fronted to us to cash a check now is made me a debtor, and I got to do production to help people. Maybe we'll get a few donations, and that'll help us out. Okay, so that's good. That's good because when I don't have to engineer, I can be a little more with it, and it's going to take me a little bit of time to get with it with this system here. So, okay, and
Yeah. Well, same over here. Sorry, I just want to say that sorry, it's been taking a few extra days to get it going. It's taken a little bit to adjust and get used to this new computer. Each computer is a little bit different. And Windows 11, anyone out there, avoid it seriously.
yeah,
Anyway,
okay,
so
all right. Well, thank you. And Lisa said, "This is such a shame. I've had in reference to what you were saying, Ninja. This is such a shame.
Yeah.
I've had such a fantastic experience at school and loved learning. Schooling looks so much different these days." And yeah. And she also said she just popped in. It's worth waiting for the good stuff. And David said we'll call in one day. Promise you the man. All right, there, David. Appreciate it. And so all right. So then let's go ahead and wrap it up. Okay. I'll finish with a few thoughts here, Sister Ninja.
Okay.
So thank you for calling in. All right.
okay, thank you, Desert. Always amazing, always. And peace and light to everyone out there
It's what they didn't want you to know.
that we tell right here.
Thank you very much. We'll talk to you on the side.
Okay,
Bye bye.
see ya.
All right. And so it's a wrap today, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope we gave you a little bit of something that means something to you, is worth something to you haven't seen before. That's the whole idea, is to try to get you to see more clearly the game that's been played on us. It's not who likes the idea of being lied to all their life, right? Or just like if you're married, you wouldn't want to be lied to by your partner, your best friend. How could you handle that? Then they start messing with your mind, and that's what they did. They messed with our mind, and gave us Pig Latin. That's all. And it's an overlay of the original, and that's the reason it's so powerful to be able to transliterate it, because I couldn't what I'm doing with the English I could not do with the Russian, or with possibly any other form of communication, or what we call tongue, which means tone key, because it's the English was used as the platform for the one world order. That's why in Europe everybody had to learn English, right? That's why English is spoke around the world, because it was used for the one world push, and so that's yet they used Aramaic. When I show that picture of the Chimera, as you see in the back of the Kayla D, and I don't know if I can pull it up. Do I have the Chimera here? Let me see. Here, yeah, I do. Okay, so when we look at the word Chimera, you see it's actually Aramaic backwards, right? It's Aramaic, and so they're telling you with this is out of Revelations. This was an Etruscan, bronze statue, and they make it with wax. What they did is they would make this statue with wax, and then they would bury it in sand, and then they would take the hot liquid bronze, a combination of copper and tin, and then they pour it into the wax statue under the sand, and literally the bronze fills all the area there where there was wax. Amazing how they did that. And so this is telling the story about who they are. If you look in the back of the Kayla D, I've got the definition of all these different words. You see the goat at the top. The goat backwards is toga. You see the wound on its neck. Serpent is also an anagram for person. The feet are not the feet of a bear, they're the feet of a dog. All of these, so there's a story. Chimera is camera, means it's a picture of life. So you see picture of life, and that's what the alphabet also is, a picture of life. It tells the story about life. It's the seed of light that I talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. The seed of light. Wouldn't you prefer to eat light seed rather than seed of darkness? Come on, mother sons of darkness. We'd want to be saved. Most of the Freemasons got into Freemasonry. I have no idea they're a part of the Communist Front, the Communist movement, and that they are part of a mass genocide program of their friends and family. Most of them have no idea. And so they just do what their Bhagwan Gandhi tells them to do because they got the secret handshake and the Grand Hand sign. They get special perks and privileges, babe, that nobody else gets. Well, that makes you feel real special, doesn't it? Sure. While you're engaged in selling out your fellow man and all of mankind, and you're just stupid, and the only food that you eat is coming from your grand monster. So it's a terrible state we're in, and our world's going down, ladies and gentlemen. And the only thing we want is the truth that will set us free. So do tell your friends about the broadcast, okay? And come on back, and we'll play it again one more time on the merry-go-round, planet Earth. It's what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. I'm Desert Al telling you, don't forget, if you want to know the future, then look for the Forbidden History, because it's all right here, coming your way, somewhere out there, 7 days a week, on the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you.
Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day, with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hills, sketch the trees and the daffodils. Catch the breeze and the winter chills in colors on the snowy linen land. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now. Starry, starry night, flaming flowers that brightly blaze, swirling clouds in violet haze, reflect in Vincent's eyes of china blue, colors changing hue. Morning fields of amber grain, weathered faces lined in pain, are soothed beneath the artist's loving hand. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now, for they could not love you, but still your love was true. And when no hope was left inside on that starry, starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. Starry, starry night, portraits hung in empty halls, frameless heads on nameless walls, with eyes that watch the world and can't forget, like the strangers that you've met. The ragged men in ragged clothes, a silver thorn, a bloody rose, lie crushed and broken on the virgin snow. Now I think I know what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they're not listening still. Perhaps they never